morning, everybody. It's Eric from the Reptile Room. I'm just waiting at a stop here. I'm out on some deliveries, and I figured I'd take the opportunity to talk about the two most popular geckos in the reptile hobby. So this is a leopard gecko. They come from the Middle East. This is, of course, a captive bred individual, and this is a fully grown adult. This is about as big as they're going to get, unless you get into some of the giant or super giant lines of leopard geckos that are out there. Now, as you can tell by looking at his eyes, this is considered a nocturnal animal. Technically, it's crepuscular, it means they're active at dawn and dusk. But you might notice, despite being a gecko, it doesn't have any of them sticky pads. Not all geckos have that, but it does have eyelids, which not all geckos have either. These are part of the family of what is called eyelid geckos, and they're a little terrestrial group. They do make pretty great little pets. They're insectivores. They appreciate some low power UV light, but they're very friendly. They're very calm little guys. So yeah, they're definitely worth looking into. Now they do have this big fatty tail on them, and they can drop that tail. It's not so much that it gets torn off by a predator so much as they can just pop it off like a Lego and a Mega Block trying to stick together. And it'll just cap over and start to heal over, but they're very hesitant to do so, because that big chunky tail, is a fat storage for them. So if they have to survive through a drought in the wild, they have what they need to do so. The defining features of geckos that makes them geckos is a voice box. They can vocalize. They can't speak English or be trained to speak English or any other human language for that matter, but they can chirp, they can squeak, they can scream. And that's what makes them geckos. It's derived from the Latin for the word for voice, essentially. As far as I know, I'm not a Latin major, so if you are, feel free to correct me on that. And this little one right here is a classic crested gecko. These are a New Caledonian gecko that were once thought to be extinct, but then they were found again on the Isle of Pines. And since then, they've become probably the staple gecko of the hobby. Their care is relatively easy. They actually eat a food that's a powder you add water to, which makes them really convenient to take care of. And they don't have crazy lighting or heating demands. Pretty easy to meet those, so that also makes them a great option. Now, these are a more arboreal as opposed to terrestrial animal. As you can see, this gecko does have those little sticky pads to help him climb. Even has one on the end of his tail there. Now, these guys can fire up and fire down, which basically means they can go through a bit of a color change based off of their mood and exposure to light, and or other things as well. But now you may notice that unlike the leopard gecko, this guy actually doesn't have eyelids. He can't close his eyes, so when he wants to keep them clean, he's just got to lick them. He can drop his tail like the leopard gecko can, but unlike the leopard gecko, these guys can't regrow them. It's kind of a get-out-of-jail-free card. They'll drop it once, they'll overshoot their jumps for a little bit because their center of balance is off, but it'll just kind of heal over real quick, and then they will carry on as normal. Anyways, that's it for today, guys. I better get back to it, get these deliveries done. We got a crazy weekend ahead of us. There's an apple festival happening on our street, and we're participating in that. So if that interests you and you're local, stop on by. We have a little photo booth going on where you can get your picture taken with some of the snakes. Anywho, that's it. Peace, and I'll catch you in the next one.